And let's have a closer look at those front pages, starting with the Express, Paul.
Yes, Leo. Has Sir Keir Starmer sounded the death knell of our pubs? Sir Keir Starmer's nanny state will call last orders on many pubs, clubs and venues. Critics have warned, and of course this is all about banning smoking in outdoor spaces like pubs and clubs. And you have to wonder now whether...
Well, outside pubs and clubs.
Outside. You have to start to wonder now whether Keir Starmer and his... cabinet of do-gooders really have real disdain for the working classes now, because this has become sort of an important key policy for them this week above anything else, when you could name almost anything else to replace it. Knife crime, for instance. Immigration would be another one as well. Gangland warfare. I don't understand this whatsoever. And he says he wants to do it to protect the burden on the NHS. Well, let me tell you something. We spend £10 billion per year trying to achieve net zero by 2050. If we just gave half of that to the NHS, it would solve the problem immediately. And if people out there are thinking, well, you know, the world will implode, well, let it implode, because it will solve all our problems at the moment.
Yeah, Bill Lewis, I mean, Paul makes some good points, but also people are still dying from smoking. 80,000 people a year are dying from smoking. Shouldn't the government come in and nanny us into not smoking?
You know what? Paul doesn't understand why they're doing this. They're doing this because it's so stupid. It's absolutely so stupid that they'll go back on it and then make us forget how undemocratic and authoritarian whoever this party is, the Labour Party, really is. That's why they're doing it. They're doing it. This is so... First of all, we don't know if 80,000 people have really died because of smoking.
Keir Starmer
also said that 1 million people died from COVID, and that was a total lie. OK? Sorry for saying that. Number one.
But what about pubs, Paul? Because, I mean, this is going to hit pubs. They're just recovering from COVID. It's interesting that Lewis brings that up. Pubs had a terrible time under COVID, obviously, because you couldn't go to the pub, and they're just recovering, and now Starmer hits them with this. Now people are going to be dissuaded from going to the pub because they can't even go outside to have a cigarette now. It's ridiculous.
I think it's incredibly insightful, because it tells us what they don't understand about, you know, the regular person on the street. Yeah. I run comedy clubs. People still smoke. Not lots of people smoke. I said 80,000 die each year through smoking. Obviously, anyone dying through smoking is bad, but 80,000 is 0.1% of the population. It's not exactly an epidemic. Yep. I mean, OK, if you take that out, it does take some burden off the NHS. It's not going to solve the problem. There are other ways to solve that problem, and we will cover it in other stories later on. However, I do run comedy clubs, and people still want to have a smoke. If you can't stand outside a venue and have a smoke, you are going to put those people off. Yeah.
But
start taking comedy to them.
You're thinking, Keir Starmer, he doesn't, you know, he's hurting his own people. These aren't his own people. He doesn't care about these people. He cares about elitists living in London and an immigrant community that's slowly taking over.
So you think he just wants to convert these pubs into mosques? And
it's an inevitability. Sooner or later, yes. Sooner or later, they're going to have to ban drinking, and so they might as well start small. A death by 1,000 cuts is what the Chinese people say.
That's also a technique used by terrorists. Yeah. Lewis, what's the Daily Mail leading on?
The Daily Mail. Outrage as Starmer removes Maggie's portrait. The Maggie that they're talking about is Margaret Thatcher. And she was one of the great British presidents, or whatever you have.
Prime Minister.
Prime Ministers.
Research done.
She was great. We loved her in America. We loved her in America. But we didn't understand the damage that she had done to the working class people and the people of Britain.
She didn't do that.
Can I tell my joke? I've got an old joke.
Do your joke. He's got a joke.
I've got a joke. Because of Margaret Thatcher, British people so many British people will not know what it's like not to be lactose intolerant. You blew my time.
Oh, because she took away milk.
She took away milk because of Margaret Thatcher. People won't know the joy of being in a brass band because of Margaret Thatcher. Because of whatever it is. This was.
I mean, that's a very convoluted joke that nobody's going to get the reference of. She closed down the coal mines.
You interrupted me.
She closed down the coal mines.
Don't laugh at me.
Collieries often had brass bands.
Yeah, and they often had brass bands.
Honestly, I'm from Scotland. I'm from a coal mining area of Scotland. Closing the coal mines was the best thing that ever happened to me.
It was.
I'm 6'6". Can you imagine me in a coal mine just banging my head every 3 steps? Rats running up my trousers.
Because you were tall.
You would just dying from emphysema. Having to play in a brass band at the weekend. My son wants to be a ballerina.
Would you stop talking?
My son wants to be a ballerina, and for some reason, I'm not allowed to let him.
This is brilliant. I've totally missed this. Normally, we like...
I wasn't listening to what he was saying.
Yeah, you're talking right over the punchline.
Because you talked over my punchline.
I didn't know there's a punchline coming because you're so bad at telegraphing jokes. Paul, what do you make of this story?
I'm not going to tell any jokes. I'm just going to talk about it. At least we haven't taken down our big portrait of Maggie Thatcher here at GB News headquarters, Leo. We obviously swear allegiance to her as we come in the room. Right. It's on the back of all of our
Don't give that away. It's Tommy Robinson that we swear allegiance.
Yeah, well, him as well. But, I mean... Is it really a surprise that Keir Starmer doesn't like Maggie Thatcher?
But it's a bit vindictive. I mean, he's supposed to be the Prime Minister for the entire country. And obviously a lot of the country think that Maggie Thatcher is a great woman. She lifted us out of this socialist hellhole. We're probably going to need another Maggie Thatcher in about 5 years' time to do the same thing.
Can I tell you what this is? There's a story, too, and you're just going to see this throughout all the papers today, is the press is ganging up on Keir Starmer. They are laughing at him. The whole story with the pubs and the not smoking. Yeah. It's a laugh at the guy.
Yeah, they're not letting him make any mistakes or be a terrible person without, drawing attention to it. It's a witch hunt. Yeah. Anyway, moving on, Lewis, what have Paul, what have the Mirror got?
Yeah, really serious story, actually. Terror swoops saved thousands. So thousands of Taylor Swift fans escaped death when an Austrian terror plot was foiled by the CIA chief. And thank God for that. Obviously, when we're thanking God in this story, we're thanking the Christian God. But it's...
Just tell him you're kidding. Tell him you're kidding.
I am kidding. Of course I'm kidding. My job is to try and make this stuff amusing in some way. But this is harrowing. Yeah. I mean, quite clearly, the CIA did foil a plot here where thousands of young people, kids included, and parents of those children, would have been slain at an event which should have been a celebration for them.
And we've seen it happen before at that Ariana Grande concert in Birmingham. And it's kind of disturbing that, we're seeing so many of these plots foiled, and so many we don't even hear about because they're not high profile at this. We've got 40,000 Islamists. This was in Vienna, but in this country we've got 40,000 Islamists on terror watch lists. So our security services are working around the clock to stop these attacks. And, I can't help but feel that they're sort of hiding. It's hiding the symptoms, but the underlying problem, the malaise, the hatred and the ideology that, wants to blow up pop concerts is still there.
Well, we don't know what to believe. It's in the Mirror. We don't know in any of these newspapers. We don't know what to believe. But if I were an Islamist, I wouldn't be blowing up Taylor Swift. I think that's a really bad publicity move for your cause. I think we got to keep on. If I was an Islamist, I'd just keep on being nicey nice, and then when the time is right, then you blow things. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Don't give them ideas, Liz. Anyway, that's the front pages out. We're going to move on. We've got the Daily Mail, and the Home Office has a plan to get illegal immigrants out of the country. It's sort of like a voluntary Rwanda scheme, Lewis.
Yes, exactly. You hit the nail on the head. Failed migrants returning to from the UK, will receive free accommodation, cash assistance, they say, from a £15 million plan.
Well, which is not a big
plan. They're spending $10 billion a year or $5 billion. They're spending billions. I think it's $5 billion a year. More. Okay, so they're spending all this money. So they're basically saying, if you're an asylum seeker, life is so horrible where you're from, they're willing to pay you a few £1,000s to move back.
It's not a huge amount of assistance. It's cash assistance, provision of care and food packs, and 5 days accommodation when you're back in your war-torn hellhole that you're escaping from.
Which means maybe it wasn't an asylum request because you didn't need to do it. If you're willing to move back, it wasn't that bad.
Well, that's the open secret that we've seen. And we've seen, I think in Germany, they did a study in 3/4 of asylum seekers or people who claimed asylum then return on holiday to the place they fled, fearing for their lives from.
Yeah, and they do talk specifically about which nations this would include, like Albania, Bangladesh, Ethiopia, Ghana, India, Iraq, Jamaica, Nigeria, Pakistan, Vietnam and Zimbabwe. They're all places that perhaps we might not choose to live, but they don't need to flee most of those places.
They're not war-torn.
They're not war-torn. You don't need to seek asylum from them. Jamaica's quite nice, actually, I understand.
I've been to Jamaica.
Yeah, lovely. Nice. Jamaica? No, she went of her own accord. That's my story.
Welcome back to Headliners. We've got the Daily Mail now with the exciting news that a new sexuality has been invented. I can't wait to add this chevron to the pride flag, Paul.
Unbelievable, yeah. There's a new sexuality in town, Leo. Symbiosexual. So people are attracted to the energy shared between couples. So this is voyeurism, by the sound of it. This
I
is
wrote
people's-
that. I wrote that myself.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, well done. It's not Countdown, you know.
Sorry.
A new study from researchers at the Seattle University argues that symbiosexual people are attracted to the energy between established couples. So, for instance, if Lewis and I were an established couple, which some believe,
Then I wander in.
and you wander in, you might already be slightly aroused, obviously, but you may be more aroused by the connection that we have. And then, you know, a bit of funky music, who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Hopefully nothing.
What do you want to happen, Lewis?
I don't know. I'm thinking about us. I mean, you are fat and disgusting.
Yeah, but I am a hell of a lover.
There's a lot.
What's happening?
No, it's three-wayism. It's just creepy.
Three-wayism. What's that word?
I don't know if it is.
Three-wayism. It's just you want. It's like two people having sex. You want to watch. It's like porn.
And get involved. They talk about a unicorn here, which is I thought it was a horse with a sort of horn. But apparently it's a bisexual woman who's willing to enter into a relationship with a heterosexual couple. So that's a symbiosexual relationship.
With just the man asking.
Speaking from experience there.